Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us. K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
All right, everybody, we are back with another morning tailgate here on the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I'm here with John from the MI6 Sports Network. He is the John Oghorn Show. How you doing today?
We're good. A little bit frustrated because it's like, man, I thought I would have done a little bit better on the fantasy draft, but I'm just lucky because Randy, you got Tua, and I just find that to be hilarious.
Yeah, it was a good fantasy draft last night. We'll cover that here later. And then I am here with Sarge. How you doing today?
Doing good. I did an auto draft with the fantasy because I couldn't be there, and some of the picks are pretty interesting. So I got to do a lot of cleanup.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how the fantasy football thing works out. We are in a 16-team league, so we'll cover that here in a little bit. But we have 2 weeks left in preseason, so we're going to continue our preview of looking at the AFC South, or not South, West, with Kansas City, Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and Denver. So who do you think is going to win that division? Anybody want to go first?
Let's let John go. Yeah,
Right.
first.
My answer is going to make me want to throw up. It would have to be the Chiefs. I mean, I'm sorry, but unless Patrick Mahomes is injured sidelined for 8 to 9 weeks, there's nobody that's going to stop Patrick Mahomes. There's nobody that's going to stop the Chiefs. When you have an experienced head coach who's been to multiple Super Bowls, and Andy Reid won a Super Bowl, been to multiple playoffs and multiple playoff wins, been to the championship games, and then you have Vic Fangio. You have a new head coach with LA, and you have Gruden, who I don't know what is going on. Supposedly they were going to get a guy in the draft or for agency, and they're sticking with Carr. So I'm going to have to say it's the Chiefs and Mahomes because the quarterback race in Denver is going to be driving me crazy this season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Sarge, what do you think?
I have to disagree with John on one thing, but I'll get to that here in a moment. But it's Chiefs to lose. Even if Patrick Holmes does go down, I mean, I think they have enough weapons to continue the fight because we believe in Hanky. I believe that's what was the thing called last year. But no matter what, it's going to be the Chiefs, but to lose. But in the second spot, it is either going to be the Chargers, the resurgence of the Chargers if Herbert continues his success, or the Raiders. The reason I say the Raiders, last year their offense was in top 10 of almost every single category, and Derek Carr was like one of the top 3 candidates for the MVP slot. And I don't understand how it's kind of funny how like when something happens, it's the quarterback's fault because the Raiders defense was pretty much in last place in every single thing. So I disagree with you on that one, John. I think Carr is a pretty darn good quarterback. And so, but I do agree with the Chiefs winning it, though.
Yeah, I kind of agree with both. I mean, right now, just looking at the NFL, I guess, landscape, it looks like, at least in the AFC South, it looks like it's going to be the Chiefs most likely winning the entire division, behind Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. But they can quickly, it's year, 3 for Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes. Things can fall off really quick, I think, if they don't have a good team. So
Tim does have that point, though. I'm not putting it on Carr. I've been a Carr fan. I think it's just the inconsistency with the media saying, "Oh, it's Derek Carr's fault because they don't like him." But if you like a Patrick Mahomes, or if you're like a Ryan Tannehill or any of these other quarterbacks, and the defense doesn't get it done, but your quarterback balls out, oh, then it's not the quarterback's fault. We're gonna blame anybody else but him. But when the media doesn't like a certain player, they're gonna put it on him, Sarge, even though it's not his fault. Derek Carr, they beat the Chiefs, and once last year, Derek Carr had a better game. And so having Henry Ruggs come back, obviously, I want Curtis and the Raiders to go 0-17, but that's realistically not going to happen. Herbert's great, but again, it's the media here. It's like, oh, if Derek Carr gets it done, the offense does, but defense sucks. Oh, it's Derek Carr's fault. What about with Tom Brady? Oh, it's because Tom Brady's doing this. Or what about Ryan Tannehill? So that's pretty much biased there. If they don't like a certain player, yeah, it's always his fault, even when it's realistically it's not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I was at a game last night between the Broncos and the Seahawks, and one thing I did notice about the Broncos is Bridgewater was starting for the Broncos, and that guy is skinny. I
Really?
saw him up. I saw him up close and personal. And that guy is skinny, and Drew Lock, he's tall. I'm surprised how tall he is with that, but during that game, they played their 1s and 2s, and the Seahawks played their 3s and 4s. So that probably explains the scores right there. So, but anyways, and
Yeah.
Royce, and he's huge also. So, but I don't see much really coming out of the Broncos. I don't.
Well, we'll get to it in a second, but Christy's saying Chiefs will go all the way. We'll win. Yeah. What do you think? Think they will? I think we all agreed that they will.
I hope they don't. Please don't. I want Patrick Mahomes to have like 150 interceptions. What in terms of the division, I could see them winning that. I mean, even without Mahomes, their roster is stacked on offense. So, fortunately, that may be the case, but it makes me sick to my stomach.
And Brandon saying that Broncos win behind, or the Broncos win it behind mighty Teddy Bridgewater. Would you like that to happen, John?
I mean, I'm saying if here, so folks, don't get your earwax in a low, but if somehow that would happen, yeah, I would be happy for him. I mean, my gosh, Teddy Bridgewater's been through a lot in his career. You go back to 2016, I think, with that injury in the playoff game, wasn't expected to walk again. He came back, Minnesota let him go. He goes to the Jets. He traded for a third-round pick in preseason. Goes with the Saints. They win a couple of games. Gets traded to the Panthers on a 3-year deal, then goes to the Broncos. I think it'd be a great story, but it would be really tough for that to happen.
I think the only way Broncos would start Bridgewater if things went horrible first 4 weeks, and they probably will. But
Like you're saying that Drew Lock is going to be the starter?
yeah, they confirmed that.
I mean, look at the media. After his one preseason game, the Broncos social media is like, oh, look what he did. It's just preseason, but they just want to basically hype him up at this point. Knowing how stubborn they are, I mean, what are you going to do? Give up on the guy so quickly like they've done before? I don't like Drew Luck, but knowing Denver, who knows?
Maybe he could follow Elway's suit and just start a whole bunch of car businesses.
Hey, I mean, worked out for him, I guess.
If his car game is as good as his football game, he won't work out. He'll be out of business like Blockbuster.
Yeah, I agree. But I think Bridgewater has, from what I saw, I think Bridgewater has the front seats of this. So,
All right, here's a question: Who do you think is the most overrated quarterback drafted this year? Like, people talk about, oh, this quarterback's good, or like you were saying, everybody thought he looks good in a preseason game.
I think Zach Wilson is overrated. The way they've been hyping him up lately, he's had 2 good games with the Jets, but really, how much film is on this guy? He only played 1 season, and he didn't play with much competition, and it's preseason, so there's not much competition. And I think he is overhyped, and that's what I think about that.
I can see that. I think maybe Lawrence is a little hyped up. I mean, or Trevor Lawrence is. I think he looks good, but it's just been preseason games. I haven't really seen any regular season games. I mean, besides college, but NFL is different.
Well, here's the thing, Sarge. I agree with you on Zach Wilson, but the thing is, it's New York. It's the Big Apple, so it's not necessarily Zach Wilson. It's because if you play for I'm not saying they're like a successful team the past 5, 7 years, but a well-known team, like in terms of where they are. Oh, New York, even though they technically play like New Jersey, New York, and like L.A. Regardless if you do anything or you're that good, they're gonna hype you up because you play for a city, not necessarily in terms of the team's success. They haven't had any success since Mark Sanchez and that defense. Keyword that defense. But if he was in like Jacksonville, no, you wouldn't be happy no because it's Jacksonville. Which one's more interesting to talk about, Jacksonville or the New York Jets? Or New York. I mean, if it would be New York. And so again, Jacksonville's interesting, but New York or Jacksonville, who are you going to talk about more? So definitely think you would have to be Zach Wilson. I mean, you beat like a BYU quarterbacks. You can say the same thing about Texas or other people, but the Jets have a history. Carl Larson is going to be out for the year. Who knows what's going to happen with their? Yes, you got a defensive-minded head coach. TJ Mosley is going to be. Is he going to really be 100%? He was out all of last year, so I have to say Zach Wilson just because again, of course they're going to hype him up. It's New York, just the name New York. Names sell in products, just like you talk about with clothes or shoes or headphones. And that's the case, and I think also Trey Lance, just because we're certain MI6 sports member.
I mean, New York City is one of the top markets, at least for like NFL, maybe in general. But
Exactly.
And I think Zach Wilson has a lot of shoes to fill. You know, being the second quarterback next to, Sam Darnold, who's now in another team, and, all the history that they have. I think he has big shoes to fill, and maybe it's not. I don't think it's going to work out for him. I think they'll be looking for another quarterback soon.
In the next 3 or 4 years, who knows? Is it going to be him or New York? Again, New York has also made dumb free agency decisions. And Sam Darnold's second off season per se, you hire again. I'm not saying Sam Darnold was great because he's not, but you hire Adam Gase, and so their decisions in free agency has been pretty costly the past couple of years. You got but you got Corey Davis, you have whoever else you have in the offense. You drafted I think one offensive lineman, but again, it's New York. You're in the AFC East. You got Buffalo. New England's better than you. And Miami, who knows? I think they could be a little bit better, definitely better than the Jets this year. So the Jets are in 4th place in the AFC East, and who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun in New York for those teams. And Daniel Jones is starting, his 3rd year in the NFL as starter? Who do you think's the better New York team?
Is this a question?
Well, I guess. I mean, we all know the Giants are going to be.
Yeah, I have to swing the Giants way because they got the defense and they're getting their running back back also. So on paper, I would have to say the Giants at this point of time. I have to agree with John with that one. He said like the Jets haven't been relevant since their defense when Mark Sanchez was there because Mark Sanchez was great running into his own players head first. But I gotta go with the G-men on that one. Unfortunately,
yeah. It's the Giants because they're in the weaker division. I mean, my gosh, you got the Jets in the AFC East and the Giants in the NFC East, where it's pretty much anybody's game. Dak Prescott is most likely he may not play a full 17-game season, so that gives the Giants a much easier. Washington doesn't have the long-term answer. Dallas injury prone, and who just really knows? So they the Giants because they're in the weakest division. I believe, in the NFL right now. And it's pretty much everybody's game week by week.
I agree with that. Brandon has a fantasy question, draft question. I think it's towards me. Fantasy draft question: would you draft the best defense and kicker in rounds 3, 4, or 5? Because that's kind of what I did.
Hey, I will defend Krista. First of all, anybody that says kickers are not useful, clearly you haven't watched football the past 5, 10 plus years. I'm not saying they're the most valuable, but if you're talking about some of the most, and because I'm defending Chris, I'm going to say if you think some of the great memorable plays we've seen, going back to the Ravens Patriots 2011 playoffs, kicker missed it. Imagine what could have happened in that game if the kicker made it. So it tells you a good kicker works. Justin Tucker's the best kicker in the NFL, so I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, on that one, on the 4 bros, like we're doing our top 25. We're not doing the top 100 because that's going to take forever. But we did put Justin Tucker. It made that list. Like 4 of us put his name on that list to be a top 25 player. I mean, fantasy. Everyone has their different techniques and everything else, and you know what? I can see at least drafting a kicker in the 4th or 5th round, but 3rd round is kind of pushing it for me. I've probably done it once in my early drafting days. So,
I mean, like I was saying earlier, we're in a 16-team league, and towards the end, it was rough picking players because a lot of the good ones, like the big name players, were taken. So I figured just take the players that are available. Yeah, there's probably strategies out there where you shouldn't have done that, but I think in a big league like that, you kind of had to. Uh, let's see. Brandon saying Christopher Mabry, I think in a 16-team league, Chris was smart. I mean, maybe sometimes you're not supposed to do that, but like everybody's saying, everybody has their strategy.
Well, I mean, think about it though, Chris. Towards the end, it was just kickers and defense at that point. My best kicker, Atlanta here had the Pro Bowl last year, but my backup kicker was a guy from the Washington football team. That's the best that I could do because you picked hardly easily the best kicker in the NFL right now. So it's it was literally slim pickings, folks, last night after the
I
later
think
rounds.
probably around round 10, 11 maybe. It was starting to get a little tough picking players. Would you agree with that?
And if you took your sweet time, Vic's ready for you, man. Vic's ready for you. She's running.
Yeah, it was like a minute and a half, which I mean, NFL teams in the actual draft would do that. You would see them, and they took like the whole. I think it's 10 minutes in the first round, which is a long time. Who do you think is going to have a player wise in the NFL? Who do you think is going to have a big impact on fantasy?
I may say the Patriots defense. I'm not saying they're gonna be top, but when you have what your goal of your offense is to have a strong running game, it means you're also gonna be relying a lot on your defense. I know it's preseason, we don't need to freak out here, but I think Patriots on defense is gonna be interesting. You look at this week, it's just preseason. They're playing Miami. What I believe was it today at 3:30, and Miami's offense in the preseason, or much less the regular season, Tua. He's not a starter in the NFL. Who else do you have to back him up? And so I think that alone and playing against Miami 2 or 3 times this year gives them really the edge and could be some fantasy points to look out for this year.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Patriots defense will be maybe in the top 10, top 5, top 10, but it's early. So, Tim, how do you think Carolina's going to do since that's your team?
I think they're going to do a little bit better than they did last year because I think Sam Darnold has potential. He could be the next Ryan Tannehill 2.0. That's why I've been calling him with that because he's teaming up with his ex-teammate, wide receiver Robbie Anderson, that was with the Jets. So there's already chemistry right there between those two players. And also on that, McCaffrey's back. He's healthy. If he stays healthy, he'll be good. But I'm still skeptical on the defense side of Carolina. That's what's going to break Carolina's hearts. They may sniff the playoffs, but I don't see them going into the playoffs with that one. So, but I'm excited to have Sam Darnold, to be honest with you.
Jumping down the Patriots, Dante Hightower's coming back, Matthew Judon, a lot of those free agency guys are going to be really, and they're going to be disciplined. I mean, if it was us three here, would I want to work for Belichick? Probably not. But they're going to be disciplined and just be interesting this year. And Carolina, man, I criticized them in 2020 because they got a great young head coach, and then you draft all defensive players, and then you sign Teddy Bridgewater, and then how do you expect the guy to stay healthy? But who knows? Plus, they're in the NFC South, man, with Tom Brady and the Bucs. Man, I feel bad for them. But I mean, again, I can't talk too much trash. My Broncos, they're really not that much better on offense, to be honest.
Well, Carolina's like in the same position as the Broncos are, kind of like, because you got the Chiefs are going to run away with it. But on the Carolina sense, if Drew Brees was with the Saints, it was either going to be the Saints or the Bucs show. But now it's just the Bucs show since Brees is gone.
It was going to be the Bucs either way, because it's like if you look at the history of Drew Brees in the playoffs since that Super Bowl win, he has a losing record. So it's just like they had their chance when they drafted those guys in 2016 to up until this last year to win a Super Bowl, and their window is pretty much shut, and their cap situation is terrible. So who knows, man? It's going to be a tough year.
Well, I think too, we all kind of like the AFC West. And Kansas City being number one, I think Tampa Bay's in that same position where it's their division to lose. We all know they're going to be number one until we see otherwise. It's just depending on who's going to be that number two team and potentially get a playoff spot as a wild card. I don't think it's going to be New Orleans because Drew Brees isn't there. I don't think you can trust Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill, as your backups or at least starting quarterbacks. And in Carolina, they could be in the top two spot, looking for a playoff spot as a wild card.
I think the Bucs need to. Yes, it's easier this year, but that doesn't mean you take it like every team's going to be a top team in the NFL. Because once you let it go, let your foot off the gas, and then you start to make mistakes, and then that's what. No matter how good your roster is, Atlanta, they're like a teenager in high school, like with teenagers' attitude. They're up and down. Which one? Do you want to do good in school? Are you trying to rebuild? Are you trying to make the playoffs? Are you trying to get all A's? Or are you just trying to party? So Atlanta's kind of up and down. Panthers, I mean, I like Sam Darnold. I don't know if it's the coach. I'm not really sold on based on his decisions, but McCaffrey's healthy. Who knows? But the Bucs, man, they have an easier chance of winning that division. But they shouldn't take it that way, because once you do, it's pretty much you're going to make a lot of mental mistakes.
Do you think Atlanta or Matt Ryan in Atlanta is going to be his final year with the Falcons, or yeah?
I don't know, because that's like almost the question of the last 5 years.
That's true. I mean,
I would probably say it could be his final year, if not the year after that.
Yeah,
I would say yes. I mean, you're so desperate for cap space. He had like $40+ million against the cap. Now it's like in the mid-20s, and your start receiver, he's gone. Older, who drafted a young tight end, Calvin Ridley. We don't know if he's going to stay healthy. Todd Gurley didn't work out. He's a free agent. So plus on defense, who do you have? And so they're in a terrible cap situation. So I think it's his second to last year, most likely. I mean, Atlanta needs to move on. They're so stubborn. I mean, what do you have with Matt Ryan? You're in a division with Tom Brady. You're going to get overshadowed pretty much every single week.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I think they should have drafted. Did they draft another backup, or I can't remember, a quarterback, or was it just receivers?
I think they
Yeah.
drafted a backup. I mean, I know they had a veteran backup for a while, Matt Shaw, because he was drafted there. But other than that, I'm pretty sure. I don't even know who their backup quarterback is. It's a guy named. Okay, AJ McCarron is on that roster. That's what sent for. So AJ McCarron's there, but he's obviously not the guy moving forward. And then you have a guy I think was just drafted in. Again, folks, you can tease me if you want if I can't pronounce his name. Felipe Franks. What's up? And so none of these guys are their long-term answer. And when you have a terrible cap situation with the Falcons, again, I compare, maybe you didn't hear me, I compare the Falcons to a teenager in their attitude, their mood swings. It's up and down, up and down. Do you want to get good grades? Always. Do you want to party? Are you trying to rebuild? Are you trying to win in the playoffs? And they're sending mixed messages here because Matt Ryan's contract against the cap goes down over 20%. And then Todd Gurley doesn't work out. You trade your veteran receiver. You draft a young tight end. So at that point, what message are you sending? Because clearly you're sending very confusing messages to the organization, to the fans, and especially to what's going to happen with Matt Ryan after this year if he's gone. Who's going to pick him up? If we're being honest, it'd be too much money against the cap.
True. What's up, Big B?
Not much. Just pulled into work. Got a few minutes before I got to clock in, so I thought I'd come chat. John, you're nailed the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, they are like high school. Up and down. You know, are you going to work today, not work? Their best bet was to get rid of Ryan this past year, I think, and just totally rebuild. So, John, you nailed that one right on the head.
Do you think it's going to be Ryan's final year, Big B?
Oh yeah. Either way, it's going to be his final year with Atlanta. I don't know if it'll be his final year in the NFL, but definitely with Atlanta.
I just saw something really stupid. So I'll say this would never happen. Let's say it's Matt Ryan's farewell tour, goodbye, didn't do a whole lot. Let's say, obviously this would never happen, so you can laugh at me if you want. What if he went to Washington on like a 2-year deal with that defense and that offense, rebuilding offensive line with Gibson, with McLaurin, with Sprinkle, with who you have on? I'm not saying that would work, but if they're in almost win now mode, they went. The guarantee, yes, is the NFC least, but they at least went to the playoffs last year with arguably who at quarterback. So I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if they're trying to win the next 2 to 3 years, that could be your best option because they got one of the most cap spaces in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
How do you think the Vikings are going to do, Big B?
I think the offense is going to be okay. I think the biggest concern right now is going to be the defense. If the defense can be a top 10, top 15 defense, then I think the Vikes are going to have a playoff run. If they're not going to be anywhere near the top 15, top 10, the Vikings are going to be probably middle of the pack. Packers are going to walk away with it, or it's their division to lose, the Packers for sure, as long as Aaron Rodgers is upright. After that, it's a crapshoot. I mean, who knows what the Lions? I mean, I know they've done a lot of rebuilding. The Bears got a big question mark at quarterback. So if the Vikings can have a very good defense, they're going to make a playoff run, I think.
I can see that. I mean, they could be top 2. We all know Green Bay is going to probably win it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, as long as Aaron Rodgers is there.
They don't have a choice but to make the playoffs this year or next year. Because once Cousins is gone, your cap situation is not very good. Dalvin Cook, again, they've always seemed to have like a really good offense. It just seems like at certain points, like the offense just doesn't, like that Atlanta game last year. That interception was like Cousins, like he knows football, but it's like now if you don't make the playoffs this year or next year, Mike Zimmer could be on the hot seat, regardless if it's completely his fault.
Oh, he's on the hot seat now. He's on the hot seat now.
I agree, but like this, if you don't make the playoffs this year or next year, you're going to be really big for the next 5-7 years because what are you going to do? Dalvin Cook's going to have to, and then 3 or 4 years, Justin Jefferson's going to pick up his 5th round. You're going to have to pay him. Defense.
Thielen.
Thielen is in his early 30s. You have what you brought back. Was it Richardson? But he's older. Didn't work in the Browns, so they're kind of in I think, a tough situation. But also at the same time, you look at it. Green Bay, are they really sure of Jordan Love? Chicago, not the best cap situation either, with Andy Dalton and Nick Foles. So I mean, it could be tough. But again,
even last year, I think Zim was on the hot seat, and I think they're about ready to blow it up. But they went out and destroyed Green Bay, and I think that's what saved Zim's job for last year at least. So I think he's definitely on the hot seat. He starts off 0-3 to 0-5. He's gone. So
yeah, I could see that. I mean, he's on a win now or go home kind of thing.
Yep. Go big, go home.
Which other coaches do you think are like that this year, like on the hot seat?
Sarge?
Coach on the hot seat?
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I'm gonna say Zimmerman.
Yeah.
I mean, how many more chances are you gonna give the guy? But at the same time, when is the front office actually gonna make the move from Cousins? I mean, so it's a two-edged sword right there.
I mean, financially.
Go ahead. I think you're going to say the same thing I was going to say, John.
Financially, they can't afford it, so they would have a 3-year-old toddler would probably have more money than the Viking. I think that's the frustrating part is because after this year, if they didn't sign him to that 2 or 3 year deal, he could have been gone and they could have rebuilt, but they don't have the money, and that's the frustrating part. Is just they need to move on. I think we can agree, but at the same time, if you sign a Case Keenum to that veteran minimum deal, like I was advocating for. If it didn't work, you're still in playoff mode, but then you could have gone like another quarterback or maybe bring in a guy like not like Matt Ryan stuff, but a guy that has experience in the playoffs. But hey, I'm not a GM, so who cares?
John, you read my mind. I mean, that's the one thing I hated about this Cousins deal. It was all guaranteed. They were locked in. After Case led them to the NFC title game, I do not know why they did not sign him. Then they could have went into the draft. 2 picks after they drafted in the first round was Lamar Jackson sitting there. So they could have took Lamar Jackson as a backup. They could have re-signed Teddy, had an open quarterback battle in the following preseason. But, yeah, they're strapped with Cousins. I mean, they was talk that they were trying to move him, but somebody would have had to take a lot of cap hit. So, I mean, if they don't do it this year, it's going to be a full board blow up, and let's rebuild again. Just like Minnesota, let's rebuild.
I never understood why Washington got rid of Cousins.
Injuries,
and then you had Deshaun Jackson, who was there for a bit. It didn't work. Alfred Morris was gone. He was in Dallas, and then you have Jordan Reed kept getting injured. He could have been like a top 3 tight end in the NFL, but again. Injuries and defensive wise, Trent Williams, and then there was defense.
RG3.
It's kind of
you had RG3 there too,
which is a bummer. I said this then. If RG3, and this is the problem is to the NFL, and I say the NFL is that injury could have taken a year or 2 to recover, and like other quarterbacks, and if they took his time, Washington that could have been Washington's division to lose. But again, that's years apart from now.
Exactly.
I always thought RG3 was going to be like a standout player. When he was in the NFL back in 2012, I mean, he played really well his rookie year. It was just the injury bug, and I don't think they handled it well.
Imagine.
Go ahead, John.
Imagine if. Even if Cousins came in after because I think Washington was on top or they were just barely beating Seattle. If they brought in Cousins and let RG3 sit for a year, Legion of Boom would have never happened. And so at that point, it would have never fully happened. So we would have may not saw the 2013 or 2014 or 15 version of Seattle. And you look at that, then that affects the NFC West and that affects the entire NFL. Obviously, it's the thing because I was an RG3 fan, but it's really unfortunate. You had Alfred Morris was lighting it up, Pierre Garçon, and all of that stuff. I mean, and that's unfortunate because I'm rooting for him. I think he got a bad rep, but again, this is a thing that happens around the NFL, and that's why I just get frustrated with it because any injury, especially like Dak, if you're being honest, medically, he should have been waiting another year. But the problem is they're in win now mode because of their cap situation. So you're going to have to rush him back, and he's not fully healthy. And I'm rooting for RG3, but at the same time, it's Washington being Washington, and I'm telling you, if Washington in 2-3 years, they could be a potential deep playoff run, and I'm excited to see what they do.
How do you think?
Yeah,
go ahead, Big B.
I think what really kind of screwed up Washington a little bit was when they drafted RG3, they went back in the third or fourth round and they drafted Cousins the same year. So they had two rookie quarterbacks. I mean, so they had and like John said, injuries is what plays a big factor into it. So you got a star quarterback, and he goes down. I mean, that's one thing with the Packers. Who do the Packers have after Rodgers goes down? Mahomes the same way. I know you guys talked about Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs having all those weapons. So, Kansas City might be looking good, but some of these teams don't look good after their starting quarterback. So we'll see what happens,
Well, and you think you have a bland, I'm sorry, but it's Matt LePou. This guy has never been great on offense. Even the year before he was in Tennessee. Here you can say different offensive coordinators. Here he was one of them, and they had the 26th ranked offense in the NFL the year before he went to Green Bay. Bring that type of offensive scheme to Green Bay. I mean, what do? Aaron Rodgers goes down. You got Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
You got Aaron Jones, and then you have offensive scheme and their head coach who really isn't that good on offense. Because once Aaron Rodgers gets out to the deep ball with Adams, what do you really have left? Because their defense is as undisciplined as a toddler in potty training. So, who knows?
The one thing with Washington, though, is even though they had RG3 and Kirk Cousins as a backup, is the offense was tailored around both of them because they pretty much did the same thing, which is kind of smart if you think about it, because if one goes down, the other can step in, and it's basically the same offense.
Exactly.
You don't have, and I think the Baltimore Ravens are kind of like that too. They have RG3 or not RG3. They have Lamar Jackson, and then they have another one. I can't remember his name.
Brett Hundley. He was there in Green Bay for a while.
Right, and I guess you could use the same offense, which is smart.
And imagine if that happened and Kirk won that game. Seattle. I mean, that's the thing is people don't really realize one small decision by a franchise impacts the entire NFL. And if Washington that happened, I'm not sure who. I mean, would have been interesting if what happened with Jason Garrett. Again, I don't know. We can go through a loophole all day. We don't have time for that. But that was definitely frustrating. I kind of feel bad for him. That's probably one of the biggest what ifs, in my opinion, in NFL history.
Of Jason Garrett?
Of RG3, unfortunately, not working out. Again, Shanahan, the doctors, and I understand now the players maybe not trusting the organization or team doctors. You saw what happened with Tyrod Taylor and RG3 because there's no way, and they should have held him back. There's no way RG3 should have been coming back in that game. That guy was limping harder than an Alzheimer's patient. There's no way he should have been coming back trying to play. There's no way. Like as much as we joke because I'm like I've seen Alzheimer's patients they limp. There's no way he should have been playing. And that's two. I think there's an article that said 2 years recovery, 2.5 years. Do that. He's still under 25 years old. His fifth-year option, I don't think at that time would have cost that much because Russell Wilson was still under his rookie contract. And so, again, this is hypotheticals. I think Big B, Crispy Bacon, we could have run Washington better than what they did.
Oh, I'm sure. Here's a fun question: which is the I guess best NFL stadium or the NFL stadium you would like to go to that you haven't been to or want to go?
Las Vegas. I'm sorry, that is a sexy field. I mean, you look at that turf good. And how the stadium you can kind of bring it back into the stadium. I don't know how I don't know how you would describe it, but it's a stadium's turf, but you can bring it back into so you don't have to take off the turf and scrape it up and all that. It saves time. And I mean, look at that stadium alone from the outside. That's a beautiful stadium. Guaranteed I want them to go 0-17. but that is one beautiful stadium.
I think Arizona has that feature too, where they can bring in the turf on like a track or something.
Yep,
Yep.
they do.
Yeah. What about anybody
For
else?
me, I mean, yeah, Vegas is definitely up there, but
Mhm.
honestly, I would love to sit in Soldier Field or Lambeau just to watch a game. I mean, just to get the old historical feel and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
that's for me. So, Sarge?
Well, I just experienced my first NFL stadium last night was Lumen Field with the Seahawks, and they sold 68,000 tickets, and over 50,000 fans were there for a preseason game.
That's
Yeah.
crazy, man. I can't wait till week 1 though, because we're going to see Houston play the Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence starting. I mean, who knows?
Oh.
Because again, that division is interesting to say the least. But see Trevor Lawrence play week 1, you know they're gonna be fans. I'm gonna be there supporting them.
Yeah, and the crazy thing about the Lumen Field is the way it's built. It's built to be loud. The infrastructure, how they built it, keeping the acoustics in there.
Like
And
the
I
two
was outside.
sides.
Yeah, and I was outside of the stadium. Also, still barely can hear on that ways. But one field I do want. I have to agree with John on this one. And Big B is like I want to like go to the Las Vegas field because it reminds me of the Death Star, the black hole. What fits better than, fits better with the fan base is with that stadium right there than anything like historical wise, especially Lambeau Field. I would definitely want to sit there and take off my shirt at like 0 degrees weather and be one of those guys.
It'd be fun to trash talk Rodgers though. Hey Rodgers, you stink, man. Hey Rodgers, just a troll an NFL quarterback is kind of fun. It would be fun.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I wouldn't mind going to Green Bay or Chicago. I've been to 2 of the Cowboys ones. I've been to the Hall of Fame one. It's not bad. I haven't been to the one they rebuilt, but I went to an older one where they still had bleachers.
Oh, okay.
Not comfortable, but it was a fun experience. But I wouldn't mind going to Green Bay or Chicago to watch a game.
They should have a
Or
like a
even
Super Bowl
Cleveland.
there in Lambeau
Huh?
Field. They should
They
have
should.
They have been trying to push that for years to have a Chicago or Green Bay to host the Super Bowl, and the NFL just doesn't want an outdoor cold game. So
I mean,
Yeah,
it's what sells
New
tickets.
York.
New York would be better. Exactly. Just like we talked about earlier with Zach Wilson. Is he really that good, or is it just he plays in a city that's well known? You got New York or Green Bay. I mean, guarantee I would love to see maybe in Green Bay would be interesting, but what are they really going to pick? It's mostly a financial decision. Like, what's going to bring in the fans, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, when they did it in Dallas, we don't get snow, yet it snowed on Super Bowl day.
Yeah, but you also got the dome over it. I mean, Vegas is due to have the Super Bowl soon, aren't they?
I think in a couple years, yeah.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
This year's going to be in LA, and I think that's a nice stadium too.
I mean, LA alone, just talking about movies, all that, like LA. I mean, that would be definitely fun to watch.
Yep.
I mean, that stadium though for the Rams, I'll say second though. The Rams stadium, oh my goodness, that is a football dream for me. Again, I don't like the Raiders or the Rams, but those stadiums, man, those are some and Atlanta Stadium. And even though Atlanta's pretty much garbage, I mean, their stadium is beautiful and their food is cheap. So hey,
I mean, Houston was a good Super Bowl city too. I thought for those couple, few ones.
I mean, I don't know. I haven't been to a NFL stadium in like 15 years, so I'm going to go to one in I guarantee Houston Stadium. I don't know. I have no idea what it looks like, but I mean the Rams or the Raiders Stadium. I'm sorry, but I would just to be outside of it, I think would be awesome.
So the next, we're gonna go 3 Super Bowl locations. This year is going to be at SoFi Stadium in LA. Next year is going to be at the State Farm Stadium in Arizona, and 2025 is going to be in New Orleans. They renamed it the Caesar Superdome. 2024 and 2026 don't have a location yet.
Yeah, Vegas has got to be one of those two locations.
It has to
Yeah.
be. That's a tourist
Yeah.
attraction.
I'm
But it-
thinking 2024.
Yeah.
Probably. But imagine if the like SoFi, obviously I don't think they're going to make the Super Bowl, but if that's the case, Matthew Stafford has been disrespected, guy that people don't talk about. Now him getting to a Super Bowl, I mean that would be interesting, but it's not going to happen. Nope, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. Nobody is going to beat Tom Brady. It's a Bills and Bucks Super Bowl.
Bills and Bucks Super Bowl.
Bills and
Yep.
Bucks. Okay.
Wow.
I like
I think
that.
I-
They were one game away, and Patriots they're rebuilding at quarterback. Dolphins, they're who knows what they're gonna do. They're in denial. It's like that one show I can't remember, when you lose your drop, you're in denial. They're in denial that Tua was the guy, and the Jets. Well, they're the Jets.
Well, I think the Dolphins made the big mistake in letting Fitzpatrick walk. Because that was like their closer if they needed it. So Washington
he's
picking
like
up
their
Fitzpatrick, I think. Yeah, I think Washington picking up Fitzpatrick for a year or two, I think is a good fit there. But yeah, Dolphins or Bills, it's their division to lose. So we'll see.
Who is your pick, Big B, for the Super Bowl this year?
I mean, realistically, I did go 0-4 versus 0-4. I mean, I do want to see that so bad, but to be honest, I mean, it's probably gonna be the Bucks versus the Bills or Bucks versus the Chiefs. Maybe the Packers might get a slim, second AFC slot there, but I mean, John said, as long as Brady's healthy and I mean, NFC's his, sad to say.
I would like to see Buffalo make it. I think they deserved it. Deserve to be in it. They came so close last year, and
Yep.
No, because imagine though, Josh Allen was a 0-star recruit out of high school. He was DMing coaches for college to get his scholarship. Gets your scholarship, gets the NFL, it's in the MVP race. They get a Super Bowl after the Bills were 0-4 because they lost 4 straight in the 80s and 90s. So to do that, he would already be there. They might as well build a statue outside the stadium for him. I mean, my gosh, because to win a Super Bowl and his story would definitely be very interesting.
Well, and then don't forget last year they added Diggs, which really helped, and I think they added another decent receiver this year. So their passing game's going to look pretty good.
Emmanuel Sanders, a veteran guy, come out. He was
Yeah,
in the
something like
Saints last
that.
year.
Yeah. So if they can get a decent running game going and that defense can hold up, I mean, the Bills are going to be in the thick of things.
Yeah. I would like to see Buffalo, make it and maybe win a Super Bowl. Unless you're playing against Dallas again.
Yeah. Well, that's why I always say, jokingly, I want to see 0-4 versus 0-4 because somebody's got to win. But of course, in my luck, that would be the longest Super Bowl ever. It'd be like 6 overtimes or something, and nobody can score. So.
Yeah, the announcers are like, no one wants to win this game.
Yep, and then Gordell's like, we're just gonna call the game a tie. So
I'm just looking at something right here. It was about 4 minutes ago. The Colts head coach Frank Wright is saying that he needs one more week to determine who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Colts. I would have thought it'd be,
Didn't I hear somebody last night say that they read something that the Colts are talking with the Bears to trade for or to get Foles?
I think Dave. Mr. Dave got of that.
I thought I heard somebody on our draft show say that.
They were talking about it, but like the realistic of that is probably not gonna happen because again, I mean, what money do they have?
Yeah. Oh, wouldn't that be ironic that Foles and Wentz end up on the same team again? I mean,
with the same head coach. Oh man,
yeah.
It would be,
exactly.
But guarantee I'm gonna be biased and say I'm rooting for Sam. But I mean, who knows? Easton played pretty well last week, so anything's possible.
Man, I mean, Nick Foles would be like, "Hey, I'm starting again. I took your job again."
Yeah.
He'd be like, "Really?"
Imagine if they win the division. That I'll be
Oh.
like, man, I feel bad for Carson Wentz if that's the case. Oof.
That, yeah,
Or the
that's
Super Bowl again.
yeah.
That would be brutal. Like the
You know, and
curse.
that's the thing with Philly is, they're kind of the same boat the Vikings were. Backup quarterback comes in, takes them to the promised land. Then they go back to the Wentz, and everybody's like, "Oh, Wentz will do it." I mean, yeah, Wentz when healthy is an MVP candidate, but he can't stay healthy. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he can't stay healthy because he doesn't have an offensive line. That's what was going on.
that is true. Offensive line is a big thing. So
And we do have a comment from Katie Gleason saying we were talking about who's going to the Super Bowl. She's saying it will be the Chiefs because we were all talking about the Bill, or you three guys were talking about the Bills. I didn't say anything about that. So,
oh, Katie, I can't disagree. I mean, but you can't doubt the Bills. I mean, they're one game behind. I mean, one
But
game away. So
imagine how hard it is to get to a third straight Super Bowl, regardless of how great your roster is. That's a hard thing to do. The Patriots did it, yes, but it hasn't been done since then for a very good reason. It's really hard. Either it's injuries or just something happens at the worst possible time.
yeah.
Do you think an NFL team like the Rams or the Chargers, or even like the Cardinals or the Saints, do you think one of those teams will host a Super Bowl in their own stadium? Or did we just see the only team to do that last year?
Right now, I think we've seen the only team to do it. I don't think the Saints are going to do it. The Rams possibly could, but I'm with John. I don't think that they're close. I mean, they're probably close, but they probably still need to tweak a few things. So I think Buccaneers are probably going to be the only team to do it for a few years.
Plus,
Yeah.
it's Tom Brady. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's maybe only Tom Brady does it. Just add that to the resume.
Yeah,
What do you
that's
think? What do you think, Sarge?
I think we'll see it again, but it's going to be I hate to use this word. It's going to be a minute before someone else someone else gets there. So this year it's in LA, right?
Yeah.
So okay, where's the other?
Arizona and New Orleans.
Nope.
No.
No, we're not going to see it.
I mean, maybe with the Cardinals, but between the two, maybe the Cardinals, but the Saints, they got a really awkward future ahead of them.
Yeah.
if the Saints can find an answer at quarterback and keep the roster the same. I mean, possibly the Saints, but like John said, they got a lot of things to work out.
Plus, their defense is getting older too. Cameron Jordan, Sheldon Rick, they're getting older. And then Alvin Kamara, Michael Thomas could be gone. Who knows? And so even if he's still there, will he play? And who's going to be quarterback? So it's kind of tough.
If you're a coach of the Saints, who would you guys pick as quarterback? I mean, I know they're not talented per se, but
Winston,
pick one.
because Taysom Hill is a less exciting Lamar Jackson and it can never stay healthy. I mean, this guy's not a quarterback for a very good reason. I mean, how many ACL tears did he have in college?
Yeah.
He's just not a franchise quarterback. I don't know why anybody would ever think that.
Taysom Hill is more of a gadget quarterback, I think. He's more of like put him in not a wildcat situation, but similar to that.
He's a poor man's Cadell Stewart. I mean, yeah, he's a gadget guy. He's a semi threat when he's on the field. But for me, I don't know why they didn't go back to get Bridgewater. I mean, Bridgewater was what 8-0, 6-0 when he took over from Breeze with that same offense. I don't know why they didn't re-sign him. I don't know why.
It wouldn't have cost you that much though either.
No, and then he, Bridgewater knows the offense, so he could have stepped right in. And I'm not saying that he would have took him to the promised land or anything like that. So, but I think they would have solidified it more with Bridgewater than they do now.
It would have been a key to his future more in New Orleans versus Winston. If he has another ESPN 30 for 30, then you're kind of screwed there because Sean Payton for a while it's always been Drew Brees. Drew Brees. Now you don't have Drew
Yep.
Brees. You can't rely on him and to throw that deep ball down the field. Who are you going to rely on now? It's going to be tough.
And speaking of that, John, I mean, just think about going into the, this year, first year without Drew Brees. I mean, you're Sean Payton and the coaching staff's like, okay, so what are we going to do now? I mean, this is kind of a new feeling for us. I mean,
And the Michael Thomas drama, so it's all that together does not smell or taste of a deep playoff run or a
Well, I mean, you
playoff
could
run.
say the same thing in New England. Last year was the first year without Brady for him.
Yeah, but I think Belichick's ego. He thought he could fit anybody in that system and win. Where Peyton is like, okay, I don't know what we're gonna do right now. I mean, they think they got the guy, or else they would have signed somebody. But
yeah,
I think Belichick thought he could take anybody, Sarge, you, myself, or John, and make a Super Bowl team. So.
Okay, I'm going to be mean to Sean Payton right now. I think he's a Kirk Cousins of head coaches.
Ooh,
a very interesting guy you'd love to have in your roster, but playoff time since that Super Bowl has been really pretty much a losing record. Now, I'm not blaming it all on him or Breeze, but very interesting guy to have, but they're going to have questions. Can he lead the team to the Super Bowl? You don't have Breeze, Michael Thomas drama. I mean, I would remember thrive with Michael Thomas and Drew Brees. And how is the offense going to be? There's nothing wrong with being a gadget player. You need that type of guy in Taysom Hill. And you had Bridgewater, he would have been a bridge quarterback, no pun intended, and then they would have been fine. You would have made the playoffs. But now you have Winston, who knows what's going to happen with him. And then you give that empty calorie contract to Taysom Hill. Why? It's empty calories, but why? There was no point of doing that in the first place.
So, all right, guys. Well, I got a jet to work, finish up the show. And Chris Sarge, I'll see you tonight on Between the Ropes. Talk to you later.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, we're getting that time a couple minutes before it ends. What do you guys think of the season so far, or coming up just in 2 weeks? You guys
I'm excited because of fans.
Yeah, fans are back. Fans are back for the first time in 2 years. It's going to be loud, it's going to be loud everywhere.
Yes.
What do you think, John? What are you excited about? I'm anxious. I'm not. I don't know if it's excited. It's more nervous and anxious because Vic Fangio and the quarterback battle and throughout the quarterback. So it makes me excited. Glad football's back, but I'm really anxious with that quarterback battle because I'm not sure if you can trust Vic Fangio and those guys to really handle that.
Yeah, it's gonna be pins and needles for a while, even in Dallas, because you don't know. I mean, yeah, Dak's gonna start the first week, but like reports are saying, is he gonna compete the full year? I don't know. I mean, and we don't have a good backup quarterback per se. Gilbert may be closer to that. I would think, knowing that he was on the roster last year and he's been around the NFL for a while, but I don't think we have a true backup, so it's going to be on pins and needles for a while. But at least all of the fans are back, so it should be a fun year, I would think. What about you, Sarge? What are you excited? Just the fans,
like I said, fans. Like I'm excited to see the fans back in the stadium. Experiencing it last night was pretty cool, amazing. I mean, that's what I'm excited for. Like I'm not expecting much out of my team, so.
Hey, you never know. I mean, they could come back from some games. So
this is coming from a Seattle Mariners fan, so I'm not expecting much.
Yeah, I could say that with the Rangers, but all right. So we're at the end. John, 30 to 45 seconds, whatever you want to say to close out the show.
Vic Fangio, I really hope you handle this well. This is going to drive us nuts for many years at a time. Be smart, be well, and I'm glad football is back and expect a lot of screaming and emergency shows if Drew Luck is the guy and he's throwing pick six after pick six.
Sarge, 30 to 45 seconds.
All
if
right,
you're
all right, I want to say thank you for Katie Gleason and Brandon commenting on the show today and looking at the refs yesterday. They're huge also. So they may look small on the field, but they're pretty big also.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I haven't seen them up close, but they look like, they're big too, as well as, football players are. So,
They're big. They're big.
yeah. All right. So that's our show for Morning Tailgate. Join us next week for another edition. Make sure to tune in to Between the Ropes with me and Sarge and Brandon. And we have a special guest on tonight to cover last night's SummerSlam, which was very good. We'll have all the details tonight. And I think Four Bros is tomorrow night, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So make sure to tune in to Coast to Coast. We'll have our show lineups there. And just make sure to tune in for, all of our great shows. So for John Alcorn and Sarge, I am Crispy Bacon. And we'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day.